Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Arrighi, the town manager in Plymouth and host of Truth Be Told, a show about all things local with a spotlight shined on a rumor or which we all know is something hard to disprove, but certainly easy to start, or some just plain misinformation that might be out there. And I do that spotlight at the end of the show. If you have something or read something about your government and you want to check on its truthfulness, let me know. We're going to display my email on Truth Be Told, and you can reach out to me anytime. I'll address it either here on the show or in my town manager's reports. But today, let's get to our guests. I'm happy to have Barry DeBlasio, who is the Director of Community Resources. You see him smiling there. And I'm delighted to introduce Kelsey Casey, who is our new library director. Welcome to both of you. I can't wait to jump into what you've both been up to, and I really want to get some great information out to the public about the library in general, both our libraries in the town of Plymouth. But Barry, I want to start with you today.
Right.
I know you go on camera a lot in some of your different roles, but I want to really let the public know who you are and what it was like in your background, because you've been with Plymouth so long and took over the library and veterans. Boy, has it been about 6 years ago now?
5 years. It just feels like I've been here longer.
So I want you to talk a little bit about your career path and what you do and what the transition was like when you went from recreation into these other areas.
Right. So remember, I've actually just celebrated my 18th year with the town. I started as the recreation director back in 2003, actually. And just again, what attracted me to Plymouth was, from a recreation standpoint, just the amenities in this community were unsurpassed. They were spectacular. And as you can see, it's kept me around. It's funny, I speak actually at a number of conferences, and so I get to travel and just, talk to people in other states. And I remember saying actually to you when you, many years ago, one of the things about our community service department was it was programming based, and it was missing one of the departments that was responsible for so many programs, and that was the recreation department. So I remember just saying we should really consider moving that department into the community service department, because you had senior center, you had the library, you had the veterans department, and disabilities commission, and also the 1749 courthouse. And they're all involved with interacting with the public and providing services, and many of them heavily program based. So I thought rec would be the perfect match. And in your infinite wisdom, years later, you did agree. And actually, when the previous community resources director retired, I interviewed for that position and was fortunate enough to get it. My background, actually, I had managed large community centers in Florida and Texas and Massachusetts. And many of them had special needs programming and also had senior programming. So I was kind of familiar with those areas. I had not worked in a public library system before. So I think that was my biggest challenge. And it was exciting. I mean, I knew many of the staff. I knew the previous director and assistant director, but I didn't know the inner workings. And so it's one of our largest budgets in the departments. So to help me take on that challenge, I decided to move my office over there. So actually, for the first 2 years when I was the community resource director, I located my office to the library so that I could really understand how it worked and why they did the things they did. And it was a great learning experience. They even made me get a library card, and which I would encourage everyone to do if you don't have one. So the library is just an unbelievable resource for this community. And having a satellite branch like Manomet is just incredible. I know we always hear that Manomet is underserved, and it was great to pick, if we were going to pick not a village, but another part of Plymouth to locate a satellite branch, Manomet was the perfect one. And it's certainly ingrained in that community. And if we hopefully Kelsey will share statistics later, but you can see how important that library actually is to Manomet, and the residents really use it. So That was the biggest challenge for me, coming in and really tackling that library. I mean, we're pushing a $2 million budget in there, over 24 full-time employees. It was a great learning experience. Our previous director, Jennifer Harris, was just incredible, as was the library board. They were just welcoming and, ready to share all of their experiences and goals with me. So it was a great experience. After I actually then eventually moved my office over to the CAL, and which is where I am now, the Center for Active Living. And we were going through a number of building projects, and that's why I did move over here. That was kind of before we'd had the facilities management department in place. And so I kind of needed to be on site to deal with some of the HVAC and some of the other issues we were having here. Although, we were fortunate to have Jennifer on board, who, helped immensely with that roof project at the library, which was just a huge and challenging project. So I think those are probably my biggest challenges. Recreation, very familiar with, and had the privilege of working with Ted Bubbins from the Parks Department for many years. And, it's just been a great experience.
I love that you brought up Ted Bubbins. I actually, he was with us for a long time, and I think you and I thought he was wonderful.
He was. He's still around.
He is, yeah, true. That dry sense of humor. I actually called him yesterday about an issue that we're researching, and I haven't heard back yet, but I know I'll hear from him. He's one of those people that when you still need something, he's willing to come back and impart some of that knowledge, that historic knowledge he had through the years. As I know, Jennifer, the former library director, will be a great resource for you, Kelsey. So let's jump to you. Really happy to have you in this position. I know that when I met with you, energetic, enthusiastic, you don't have some of that jading, that little bit of jaded that Barry and I have that comes with time. So tell us what your plans are, a little bit about your background, and what made you really attracted to coming to Plymouth.
So I came from Eastern Connecticut. I was a library director in Canterbury. And prior to that, I had been at the sub-base library in Groton. So I've been in libraries for a while, and the the size of Canterbury compared to Plymouth is pretty significant. So I was ready to take on the challenge of having a bigger library. And I mean, this building is beautiful. The town is beautiful. When I came to visit for an interview, I just drove around and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the place. Yep.
She actually moved here.
I did. Yep. I am in the process of purchasing a house here. So already getting used to the community, although it is difficult to kind of learn all of the little, the things that make Plymouth tick with COVID, because so many opportunities are closed off to me.
Right.
But I'm doing a lot of Zoom meetings with a lot of community organizations, going to different neighborhoods, because I think the biggest challenge with Plymouth in general, not just with library services, is the size. I don't think I realized how large Plymouth was before I moved here, because right now, I live 20 minutes away from the library, but I'm still in Plymouth. Mm-hmm. So the size is kind of the biggest obstacle I'm seeing, because even though we do have the Manomet branch, it's still just not as close as I would like it to be to all of the residents. So I think getting the library outside of our buildings is going to be one of my biggest projects.
As long as you're not pushing me here on TV for another third library.
Not yet, maybe next year.
Yeah, right.
I'll take it easy on my first year.
Okay, thanks.
But no, I want to send our librarians out. I don't want them to have to work in the building all of the time. I told my outreach librarian, I'm like, I love seeing you here, but I don't want you to be here. You're the outreach librarian. I want you to be out. So we do have a lot of plans, after COVID, because it is hard to expand our services when right now our services are already limited. But I'm thinking about the future, especially.
So you
with the
probably
vaccines.
never in a million years thought when you came to work here as the assistant library director, brand new, coming in from Connecticut, lots of experience, but still walking into such a big structure, a big organization, that not too long after that, is it about a year and a half, Barry, about a little over a year, that you would become library director?
Yes, I actually heard about Jennifer's retirement before my first day here.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was a bit of a shock. I was expecting, you know, a couple of years, learn the ropes, and maybe down the line. But that doesn't mean that I'm not prepared and I'm not eager to get started on projects. I mean, we have a lot of projects in the works.
So I was asking earlier, so let's talk to everybody about, here is my library card for the Plymouth Library. It's really old. I got it when I first started working here a couple years after, so it looks a little different than yours. But tell me, why should a new resident moving to town or someone that's been here for a long time get a library card? What do you have to offer besides books? Because the day of that being the library are long over.
Yes, I like my whole philosophy on libraries is books are just the beginning. Yes, that's the cornerstone of where libraries started, but we have so much more. So I have some little show and tell. We have a seed library. So you can come in, you can just take a packet of seeds. They're all labeled so that you don't have to purchase your own seeds. We have these great make and take, or take and make packets that we've created. So a lot of the programs prior to COVID were in-person crafts or in-person classes. So we've changed that whole system so that we have things that just packets that you pick up. You can pick them up at curbside or at the desks.
And what is that one?
This one is a garden tracker. So it has all of these great little sheets of seasonal gardening to-do lists. So it tells you what to do in the spring, the summer, winter, and autumn. It also tells you how many square feet you need to plant certain vegetables. It tells you how much you can expect to get from your seeds that you take, and also where to plant things next to each other so it works. I'm not a gardener myself. I have a black thumb. So these packets are fantastic because you don't need to learn, you don't need to know a lot in order to start a garden. And then
well,
we're also
little known fact, I do have a green thumb. I would never know about myself, but a few years ago, I decided at first my gardening was just flowers because I always want cut flowers in my house. And now I've expanded to a full raised bed and I have a ton of vegetables. So I am really looking forward to spring because I've already started some of my seeds in the house, getting ready to transplant them outside. So I might take a look at that list and give you a little judgment on it.
all right, that's great. And then we're actually having a program next Wednesday. It's from the Massachusetts Master Gardeners Association. So we're going to do seed starting. And then we're actually doing, it's a 7-week program. So every Tuesday at 6, starting next week, we're going to have a different gardening program. The whole thing is called Seed Between the Lines.
Okay.
And each week we're going to have either a different craft or a different master gardener talk on a subject. So that'll be a really good, kick off into spring. And then by the time that series is done, it'll be warm and we'll be able to be outside.
And some of these programs, the ones that you're talking about that being done virtually now, those were done in the library. I mean, you had events. Is it fair to say 3 nights a week? There was an event there, something that people could go to, meet each other and learn.
Yes. Yes. So the quantity of our programming has gone down a little bit because of COVID. I'd say that we have like 2 programs a week, but we make up for it with the take and makes and the programs that we do have. We also are trying to do a lot more social media engagement. So, asking people what they're reading, the kind of things that we would talk with our patrons about when they came in, because we're not seeing them as much. So we can't do the reader's advisory at the desk. So we're doing it online now.
So if somebody wants to get involved and they happen to flip on the show and they say, you know what, I would like to either engage in some of these programs or hear some advice about different books I might be interested in, or learn about other programs, even things that might be happening once we do fully reopen. Even something as simple as last night at the select board, the other night at the select board meeting, it came up about what the hours actually are. Tell us a little bit about that, not just the hours, but where they can find all this information to get involved.
I would say first stop, definitely be the website. So that's plymouthpubliclibrary.org. I would also check out our Facebook and our Instagram pages. They're pretty active. We have all of our events listed on there and just updates. We actually are changing our hours, not next Monday, but the Monday after. So we are going to expand a bit. Right now, our hours at the main branch are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 to 8, and Thursday, 1 to 6. And we have curbside service 10 to 12 and 2 to 4 Monday through Saturday. Manomet is Monday 9 to 5, Wednesday 9 to 5, Thursday 1 to 9, and Saturday 9 to 5. So when we do expand our hours, Tuesday, we will open from 10 to 8, so that we'll have some morning hours. Thursday, we'll open from 10 to 6, and we'll be able to expand so that we're open Friday 1 to 5 and Saturday 1 to 5. So we are getting somewhat back to our normal schedule, and we have a couple of staff postings right now, and once those are filled, hopefully we'll get back to normal hours minus our Sunday hours.
Right. I know that it is still closed on Sunday, something that maybe eventually can revisit. We didn't put it back in next year's budget, but it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it throughout the year and see what we can do. One of the things that we haven't brought up here today, although Barry, I think you mentioned it really briefly, is what a great board of trustees you have.
Oh yeah.
Other boards and committees, they're somewhat low profile when it comes to being out in the public or meeting with the select board or even in the town manager's office, hearing from them regularly, but they are so engaged and so supportive. Tell us a little bit about what that board of trustees, what work that they do.
So our board is pretty unique, where all of our board of trustee members are also members of the Plymouth Public Library Foundation. And the foundation is an entity that does fundraising. They're sort of like our friends group, but a little bit more formal. And they're actually going to be doing an online auction in April to benefit the library. And they are, I mean, other than just being supporters of the library, financial support, they fund a large majority of our literacy program, which I think is one of the best aspects of our library. We're always enrolling students. So if anyone would like to do high school equivalency classes, we enroll students throughout the year. We've limited our amount of in-person tutoring, but hopefully soon we'll be able to bring our tutors in once it's safe to do so that we can do our ESL classes and just tutoring for students that are trying to get their high school diploma. And I think that program is so fantastic, and the foundation and the library board of trustees help fund that through various efforts throughout the year, including a golf outing, and the auction, part of the money will go to that as well.
So we'd love to have details on the auction. If you want to send any of the information, I think one of my goals is to help more promote the library, because when I met with you as part of the interviewing process, you indicated that, and so did a member of the board of trustees that was part of that really want to get to more people, more residents in the community. And that's something I'm always trying to do, to let them know what is happening with their government and be available to answer any questions for them. So let's talk about how, we don't do it on the show, but how we can partner more to maybe either link our websites or make sure that I'm promoting your services and your programs as much as we can from this office. talking about trying to get people involved, I'd love to just run down some statistics because sort of a statistics person and I find that interesting. And I like the residents to know what some of those numbers are of people that do use our library services. It surprises people.
Yes. So our curbside service is in 2-hour time blocks, and our record for, I think it was a 10 to 12 time period with 86 curbside appointments. So that means that every minute and a half, a big bag of books was checked out to someone, brought to their car, and they drove away. So in 2 hours, 86 people would come through. In February, we had 1,270 curbside visits for the month of February, which is pretty impressive. And then Little Manamit, I mean, I know that their numbers are always smaller anyway, but even they had 99 curbside visits for February. And then, so we just eliminated appointments in accordance with the town hall, but in February, we had 675 visits to the library, which is pretty good considering some people still think that we're closed. That's another thing that we're trying to address.
Kelsey, give me a comparison to pre-COVID. What kind of numbers were we looking at all the time of visitors to the library?
Right. So pre-COVID was a very different number. So we would have 15,000 visits to the library a month, which is, I mean, we're not close to that number, but we have increased our amount of circulation in our e-materials. We have a huge resource of ebooks, e-audiobooks, and videos, music. So we had 7,300 e-circulations in the month of February. That means like 7,000 individual materials were checked out through the month of February without people even having to come into the library.
Yeah, it's astounding. I mean, I think that Plymouth has always been supportive, I've found since I've been here, in financially supporting these services that really make a town a wonderful place to live. And that definitely includes the library, the senior center, and veteran services. So I'm happy to see and hear about these kind of numbers. I really have a lot of confidence that you will be able to even try and increase those more and reach more people. I am shocked to say this because I could continue to talk to both of you, but we are already running low on running out of time. It's just a quick 30-minute show, but I would love to have you both back. Barry, I can see you grinning there, but you know I will be asking you back in the future because one of the things that we didn't get to talk about is long-term capital plans. And I've always been really interested in Barry's philosophy that this town deserves, and as you talked about, because it's so big, deserves a real community building, which would house, you know, not just right now, we use sort of different sites like Memorial Hall and the Manamet Youth Center for some recreation programs. And of course, we have a separate senior center, but one real community center would be something wonderful to have. Now, in talking about that or just suggesting on the show, I am not telling the taxpayers to build that right away. I'm just saying it's just an idea that we've talked about for a couple of years that I think that we should just keep somewhere on our radar. That's all.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for being here today. Stay with me a couple more minutes. I'm just going to do a quick spotlight at the end of the show, like I always do. And this week, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about sometimes the spotlights that we look at, they're not complimentary. They can actually be a little bit ugly. And there are people that are out there that think that tearing someone else down will build them up. And we've all probably dealt with this in our professional lives. We've dealt with it online. We maybe even have dealt with it personally. But those kind of negative remarks and propaganda, I believe they need to be addressed. I think you need to bring them into the spotlight. And this week, it came to my attention that there was an email that circulated to employees that talked about some things that weren't truthful. So I just want to encourage people to check your facts. If you read something or see something or hear something or whatever it is, that mentions other people, check with them. I mean, I think that you deserve to know the truth, and I think that anybody that reads or gets this material deserves to know the truth. So this week, it was a notice that went out to employees that mentioned that they hoped the town manager had time between some of the social media things and this show that I'm trying to do to reach out to the public to also find time to manage the town. So I just want to let anybody know that read this email. I certainly do find time to manage the town. Since I started working in the town of Plymouth, I am willing to dedicate any amount of time that I need to help oversee the day-to-day operations of the community. So it doesn't matter if I'm on vacation or if I'm physically in the office or I'm at home or what time of day or night it is, I am available to do just that. And I don't think I've ever shirked those responsibilities, and I won't as long as I work here. And the other thing was that the person suggested to the employees that maybe the town manager should start working on the Board of Selectmen goals instead of the goals that I announced a few weeks ago. And I just want to let everybody know that read that the select board has not yet set their goals. So certainly I will work on select board goals. They policy, they help set goals mutually with me each year. That has not yet happened, but as soon as it does, I will talk about it both on this show and in every other forum we have. So that's going to do it for today on Truth Be Told. I will look forward to seeing everybody next week. And thank you again to my guests.
Thank you.